everybody, welcome back to a new video and the first full week back for the new term at Oxford. So today I have my paleography class, which is continuing for 4 weeks. Then I have the paleography exam, which should be interesting. And then the essay due for this course as well later. So yeah, it's gonna be kind of rapid fire this term for this course. So it's kind of just like finishing up a couple things and then review and wrapping everything up. I believe that's kind of what we outlined at the end of last term. So yeah, it'll be nice to kind of get back into it. I enjoy doing the transcriptions. The thing that I'm more nervous about for the exam is dating things, because you kind of have to look at the handwriting and like you can look at stuff like the letter forms, like the way that they'll write certain letters kind of indicates which script model and which and like what years the text is from. So that's like one way to kind of date. But the thing is that that stuff is like not necessarily definitive. Like you kind of have to look at everything together and for my skill level make like a semi-educated guess. But that's not something like that I'm very familiar with or super comfortable doing, and it's hard to keep everything straight. So I think it's going to be quite a bit of review for me. And you have to, yeah, so, and you have to date it like within 50 years. You can be like, oh, this is probably between like 1250 to 1300 based on these things. But yeah, that's the part that I'm most nervous for. The transcriptions, I think, should be okay, knock on wood. I don't think there's any wood in my room, but yeah, we'll see. That is my hope, because I've liked doing the transcription so far, and for the most part I've been quite accurate in class, but you never know what they're gonna throw at you, I guess, on the exam. So I think they give you like so many passages and then you pick like 2 or 3 of them, I believe, and yeah, go from there. So do the transcription, explain the dating and everything. I don't have to write them in full subfusc in the exam schools, which is both kind of nice because I feel like that would make it like that much more intimidating, but also is kind of like a cool, like weird, very Oxford experience, so it might have been fun. But yes, going to get back into this. I have like, you are right now on a big pile of library books, which I'd used for my Beowulf essay last term, so I'm going to take a bunch of those back to the library. But yeah, gonna head out to the English faculty now and do some paleography. Hello guys! So today I had my class this morning and I really enjoyed it. This is my paleography class that carried over from last term, like I said this morning. So last term, usually on Mondays, we would do like book history, codicology stuff. It was a lot of like looking, and we were also like looking at script models. And then on Wednesdays, we would kind of look at script models more and then do like transcriptions, or we'd review the transcriptions so we were set for that week. And then yeah, this term for the kind of couple weeks leading up to the exam, we're talking about editing and like creating editions, basically like transcribing to create editions. And this was probably one of my favorite lectures that we've had this term. It was definitely stuff that's like a bit more familiar to me than the straight paleography stuff, because I've done a lot of like digital edition stuff before. So like talking about what diplomatic transcription is, what like scribal editions are, what like the idea of like the best text edition is. That stuff was all familiar to me, but this is like sort of taking it with like a new angle and everything. And I was always like kind of looked at it both on the Canterbury Tales stuff that I did in undergrad and during my MSc last year was looking at it from the standpoint of creating digital editions, which he kind of mentioned as a side note, and I like mostly agree with it. Like, he said that some people kind of add digital editions as a whole nother type of edition, but he thinks of them more as a medium because like you can have a diplomatic transcription as a digital edition. Like, the digital aspect is sort of like the way that you're presenting whatever style of edition you've created, which like, of course, then like other things go into creating a digital edition that may not be considerations or decisions you would make for like a different type of edition, like a print edition, whatever. So there are probably like arguments to be made on both ways, but like broadly and like simply, I sort of like agree with that. That makes sense to me. Because yeah, you can like have these other sort of styles and considerations, but you're just like presenting it digitally. So yeah, I found the lecture really engaging and I really enjoyed it. And then that was all that I had scheduled today. Afterwards, I scurried on over to the Pembroke MCR and did some work there, but was also just yapping with some of the girls that were up there for quite a while, and like was doing some readings and stuff that I have for my history class. So that will be a bit different because I did take history classes during my undergrad, but obviously haven't taken any at graduate level. And yeah, I'm curious what it's going to be like. And like writing history essays is similar, but not exactly the same as English. So I think that that project this term is going to be interesting. And yeah, I'm excited for the class because one of the medieval history classes that I took in my undergrad was really, really interesting. It was basically like history of the Middle Ages through film. So we would meet a couple times a week. We had like an evening class where we would go, I can't remember, I think she would do like a very short introduction lecture, like just about the film, and then we'd watch the film, and then in the next class we'd have like the lecture on the historical period or like the person that the movie was about, that kind of thing. So like, and sort of looking at how do those movies like accurately or inaccurately represent the Middle Ages, and also like sort of modern ideals of from the time that the movie was made. How does that impact the way that the story is told? We watched, in a couple cases, we watched movies told about the same event from two points of view. So it was really, really fascinating. We watched, like for example, we watched Kingdom of Heaven, the movie with Orlando Bloom, and then we watched Saladin. So same story about the Crusades and everything, but like, you know, made from filmmakers from different points of view and everything. So, and sort of like focusing on different people within the conflict. So yeah, really, really cool class. And we talked a lot about, obviously like religious figures and religious orders of the time period. So like we watched The Passion of Joan of Arc. We watched Silent. I think it was just called Silence, and it was about Hildegard, was that her name? Sometimes I want to call her Helga, and I know that that is not her name. I think it's Hildegard, who was a nun. And then, yeah, and the reason why I've gone on this tangent is because this history class is about it's called Saints and Sanctity, about the medieval period, and I think into the early modern period, maybe a little bit. So yeah, I think it's gonna be really interesting because I enjoyed that history class, which is kind of where, obviously I discussed those kinds of things through my through my English courses, but that was like the history class that I took that was really more, that narrowed in on it a bit more. So I'm excited to learn more this year, and I think it should be interesting. And my class is at Worcester, which I always like going to, a very pretty college. So yeah, that will be later this week though, but I was doing readings for that earlier today. And other than that, I don't really have any plans for the night. After I was at Pembroke, I was there until like 4:30-ish, and then I headed back here because I wanted to eat something. So I came back here and then I've been working on stuff here and doing, and just reading a little bit for fun for the afternoon. But yeah, that's my evening. Morning everybody. So it is Tuesday now. I don't have any classes today, but I've just been at home so far this morning, and I'm going to, I think, go to Pembroke maybe, either to the MCR or to the library to work for a bit this afternoon. But it's going to be exciting because I'm seeing Wicked with Chloe and Anika tonight. They've actually both seen it already, I think multiple times each. They're definitely, I think, like more big into Wicked compared to me. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. But yes, I suspect that they will know a lot more about it than I do. But I'm looking forward to seeing the movie. I think it's gonna be quite good, and we'll probably like grab dinner together beforehand. So that's my plans for the day. It's too bad because I think there was this like lecture that I wanted to go to on like magic in medieval Welsh. I don't know if it was poetry or if it was just called like in medieval Welsh narratives maybe. I'm not sure, but magic in medieval Welsh literature anyway. So I think that would have been quite interesting, but it kind of overlaps. So I don't think I'm gonna be able to make it. Last night I finished Lucy Undying by Kirsten White, and this is so good. And this is so good. I was gonna say one of my favorite books that I've read this year, but like I've read 4 because it is the start of the year. But one of the best books that I've read in a while. There is not a wasted detail in this. It's so good. I don't know if I've like explained the premise of this before. I think I have. Basically, it's sort of like a retelling kind of Lucy's character from Dracula. So Lucy is Mina's friend. In the book, she's kind of like, she's supposed to be like very young, beautiful, kind of naive, and she's turned by Dracula, starts like, as a vampire, she like starts murdering babies, and all the men who were in love with her, there's like a cowboy, a lord, a doctor, and then Van Helsing is also there, and they all kill her. In this one, Lucy is not the vampire that dies, so it's sort of her like trying to figure out why Dracula turned her, trying to find Mina again because she was so in love with Mina. And then there's a present timeline of this woman Iris who is trying to escape her very controlling family. Like, it all seems very sort of cult-like. They're trying to get her to come and run this like very predatory company, and you kind of get the sense that she's like aware of the supernatural, but like not to what extent. And her and Lucy meet. They start going through this old house, which we know is Lucy's old house, and Iris finds Lucy's diary that she wrote before she was turned. And yeah, it's so good. I would definitely recommend that one. When I bought it, I was kind of surprised. It was in the horror section, which it definitely like is. It's got like, but it's not like super, super scary. So I would say like it's definitely got like elements of horror, but it's not like one that's going to keep you awake at night, I don't think. Obviously, like, it's about vampires, there's a lot of murder, some slight, like, body horror elements, I guess, but yeah, really, really recommend that. Now, I think for reading, I have an arc from Kristen Ashley, so it's gonna be, like, a sharp turn to a contemporary romance, so I think it's, like, a sort of continuation of, like, the Chaos series, kind of, but it's bridging with her newer motorcycle series, so yeah, I'm going to start reading that at some point. But for now, I'm going to head out and find a library or something. Hello everybody. So I kind of dropped the ball with vlogging the other day, but it was because I just didn't do anything exciting because I was up in the MCR during the day trying to work. I did some work. I did some jibber jabbering with other people that were in there. And that's partly why, because there were other people in there, so I didn't just like whip out my camera. But got some stuff done there, had a nice time. And then I met up with Anika and Chloe to go see Wicked, which was really good. I enjoyed it. I don't know, I'd said like the longer the press tour went on, the less interested I was in seeing the movie, because everybody talking about Wicked was just so annoying. But I love musicals, and I thought it was really good. I thought Ariana Grande was amazing. Obviously both of those women are incredible singers, but this might be a hot take, I thought Ariana Grande, like acting wise, I preferred her over Cynthia Erivo. But that could also just be partly that Glenda is kind of a cooler character. Like, I feel like everybody kind of wants to be Elphaba, but I'm like if I was going to, you know, be cast in the Broadway or West End version, I would want to play Glinda. Like, it's a way more fun character. And I feel like as an actor, there's like more to do with her than there is with Elphaba, almost. Elphaba. But yeah, really liked it. I will say some people are like, oh, they should win the Oscars for this. And I don't know if I'd go that far. I guess it depends, you know, what they're up against. So I don't know about that. And the costuming was insane. Like, I loved the costuming. That was so good. Also, like, people be hating on Glinda, but literally they become friends, and the next day, Elphaba turns into Miss Steal Your Man. Enjoyed the movie, thought it was good. Then today I had my paleography class in the morning. So this one, like Monday, we kind of moved on to editing, but Wednesdays for this term we're going to be looking at like script models still. So we were doing that, looking at some pages for transcription, kind of the same thing that we were doing last year, or last term, I mean also last year, but yeah. And then after that, I was in the English faculty library for a bit, and then I decided to come back here. This evening, I'm going to the MCR handover dinner. So basically, we get to like go to dinner to sort of like welcome the new MCR reps. So we're going to go to Dishoom, which is an Indian restaurant. I went to it, I don't know if this one's like called Dishoom, but it is Dishoom, but it's like, it's Dishoom, which is like a very popular chain of Indian restaurants. There was one in London, or there is one in London, and the one in Oxford opened like this summer. Anika and I went to it when they did their like soft launch opening day because their menu is 50% off for everything. So we went to that and it was really good. So for this thing, they're gonna kind of have like a set menu. So I'm looking forward to that. I think it should be really good. Okay, so today was another quiet vlogging day because I don't have classes on Thursdays. And it was like raining hard this morning and windy. Like I was in the kitchen and I could hear the wind swirling around the building. So I just took it as an opportunity to do my laundry while other people were at lab or in classes and just work from home mainly for the day. So it's mainly like doing readings and getting stuff for my English class tomorrow. And then kind of looking at stuff because I'm going to have a meeting with one of my dissertation supervisors next week. So looking at stuff for that. So that was pretty much what I was doing today. I'm going to one of the, obviously there are always like a plethora of lecture series going on in Oxford. So one of them is the James Ford lecture series, I believe it's called. I don't think that it's like English specific, and I don't know that like the topics or the disciplines are always the same or if it's always kind of something different each year, but this one's being given by a medieval historian, so it's going to be on like sort of language at the time, and I think maybe language transmission a bit. Obviously, like, linguistics is not my specialty, but I think it should be quite interesting, and some of the later ones in the series sound like they'll be, like, even more kind of up my street, so hopefully I'll be able to go to most of these, you know, assuming that this one is holds up. But yeah, I'm gonna go to that. It's in the exam schools. So yeah, that's where I'm off to this evening. It's the next day now. The lecture was really interesting. It's gonna be the same speaker for the entire series. So she said, you know, she's sort of tracing, you know, 4 centuries and 4 lectures. No big deal. But it was really interesting. I'm not a linguist, so it was definitely like a lot of information, very rapid fire, but I feel like it was like fairly easy to follow along through considering I'm a non-expert. And that's a part of the exam schools that I've never been in before. It's quite a grand room. So that was quite cool to see. And yeah, then I came back and did a bunch of tidying up, put all my laundry away, put everything together, did some more like prep going over stuff for today's history class. So I'm kind of going all day. I've got my history class, then I'm meeting with, then I have a break for lunch, and then I'm meeting with my course convener. I think it's just kind of like a 10 to 15 minute catch up sort of thing. But then I'm going to meet Tess for coffee, and then I'm going to a lecture in the evening, hopefully, about, it's by a professor from the University of Glasgow, which has a really big center for fantasy, and it's a scholar who publishes a lot about fantasy and about Tolkien specifically, so it's called Tolkien as Mythographer, so I think that should be quite cool. There was another lecture going on at the Sheldonian by Stephen Fry, who is here as like a visiting professor, but I didn't get a ticket for it, and they do have like, you can wait at the door to try to get in, but it's at the exact same time as this other talk, so I don't know if I want to like risk waiting for that and then not see either. And I've read a bunch of this other professor's articles before, so I think it would be cool to see her speak. So I'll probably just wind up doing that. But Anika's going to Stephen Fry, so maybe I'll meet her after and, you know, get the lay of the land. But I'm also just like very pleased with my outfit today because I think this is just very cute. But then I have these like fun tights. So they say "see you in hell" on the back, which I'm hoping people take as a threat. Good morning, everybody. So it is Saturday now, it's the weekend. Yesterday I had a really busy day. Like I felt like I was running up and down the city all day, but I didn't like actually like accomplish that much, I guess, because I had my history class in the morning, which was really interesting. We were discussing Perpetua and then the life of St. Anthony. I found Perpetua personally the more exciting one. So it's basically like her diary of, she's a Christian and then the Romans are like persecuting her for being a Christian, so it's her diary of her imprisonment along with the other martyrs, and then at the end there's like an anonymous editor putting in the account of her and the other martyrs being executed in the arena. It's very intense, but it was very interesting. And then the life of St. Anthony is him being like, I'm gonna become a monk and like wander around. And the person that's like editing it, telling it, sort of has his own reasons for doing it and is kind of presenting him as the first monk, which is like not the case. And then we also talked about how he sort of becomes responsible for his 12-year-old sister and is like, ugh, you know, responsibility. So he like, they were very wealthy after their parents died, so he kind of like had just enough money, like gave her just enough money for her care, and then kind of like offloaded her to sort of like cloister essentially when he could. So when we talked about that, we were like, what does this prove? Women are already doing this, but then men do it and are like, see, it's important now. It was a cool discussion. Basically, I enjoyed that class. I think it's gonna be quite interesting, slightly like outside of my, not necessarily like my comfort zone, but like, obviously it's not what I've focused on for the last couple of years, so it will be like a bit different for me. But yeah, quite a good start to the course, I think. And then after that, I came to Pembroke for lunch and I ran into a couple guys that I knew in the dining hall, so I had lunch with them. And then I went to Balliol College to meet my professor, or not my professor, well, she is a professor, but she's not like teaching a class. She's our course director, or course convener. So she, I think, was just like scheduling 10 to 15 minute chats with all of us to kind of just like keep updated on where we're at and what we're doing. So that was good, very chill and cool to see Balliol. I've been on the grounds a couple of times, once at night, so couldn't really see everything. And then I went, and a girl on my course last year was at Balliol, so a couple times we went and ate lunch just like outside on the grounds. So I had seen it before, but it was like very kind of more briefly, so it was nice to go and see more of Balliol. And then what did I do? Then I went and met Tess at the Queen's Cafe, and like, I took a video of the cheesecake. It was so good. I thought it was just gonna be like a little piece of cheesecake, but it was very elaborate, so I would definitely recommend that cafe. It was very good. We'll probably go back sometime. I feel like that one, the vibe in there was more of like going to chat compared to some cafes like you go in and everyone's on their laptop, or it's more of a mix. That one I would say, not that like you couldn't go in to study, but at least when we were there, it was more like socializing, which is kind of nice, especially if that's what you're there to do. So I had a really good catch up with Tess. That was fun. And then I went to Corpus Christi and I was going for a lecture by a professor from the University of Glasgow, Dimitra Fima, who is like a really big Tolkien scholar. So the lecture was about Tolkien's mythologies, so like how he constructs myth and like myth, legend, and folktale in Lord of the Rings, and like in general what those mean. So that was quite an interesting talk. But I went and it was in this room, and I'd been to Corpus Christi before for like social events, so they were like very clearly marked where to go. But I went to the porter and I was like, I'm looking for this room. And he was like, okay, you just go like through here and to the right. And I went and I was like, I don't see it. So I kind of wandered around, went back to the porter's lodge, was like, I'm lost. And then he like showed me on a map and I went and found it. But to be fair, I don't think it was my fault because it doesn't have a sign outside of it, like saying what room it is. So I was like, how's a girl to know? But yeah, I went to that talk, which was really interesting. Came back, had a call with someone, and then I was done for the day. So I didn't necessarily like get ahead on my own personal work, but it was a very busy day, so it was good. Today I've been hanging out here, fiddling around, but Anika, whose life is overtaken by dance right now, one of her like sessions got canceled. So I think we're gonna go for lunch and then like study for a couple hours before her next dance practice. And then I'll probably come back here. I need to go grocery shopping, so I think I'm gonna get groceries and come back. But I know like everyone is really busy this weekend, so I don't really have things planned with anyone. So I'm thinking either tonight or maybe tomorrow night, I might just go to a movie by myself. I might see, I'm blanking on what it's called, but that new movie with Kieran Culkin and Jesse Eisenberg looks good, so I might go see that at some point. Hello. Hello. It's like, it's different. It's been too long. Everybody, it is Sunday now. I have just had lunch at home here and I'm getting ready to head out because me and a group are meeting to kind of work on this editing project, basically for the 4 weeks of paleography that we have, we're sort of given these like activities for creating an edition, like doing some editing stuff. So we've gotten together in a group and are kind of gonna like figure out what we're doing basically and go from there. It's not like graded or anything, it's just sort of an in-class activity to do, so we'll see. But it's quite like rainy and overcast out today. So yeah, going to head out there and get some work done, I guess. Hi guys, so as you can tell, I've been rained out a little bit on my walk back from our meeting. I put my, I didn't use my umbrella because it's very windy, so it's more of a burden than a boon. So I gotten quite damp, but my jacket's kept the rest of me dry, thankfully. But we finished earlier than I expected, so I think I am gonna go to the earlier showing of A Real Pain, I think that's what it's called, the Kieran Culkin, Jesse Eisenberg movie, which will be nice because the later one was at 9 p.m. so then I wouldn't have gotten back till quite late, so it'll be good. I can see the movie, then I can do some more prep for next week this evening. So it's good. Basically, what we were doing today was like choosing what kind of edition we want to do. So I think we're gonna do like an eclectic edition. So basically, the process was like transcribing all these different versions, these different manuscripts of this like part of the Canterbury Tales. Basically it's like a few stanzas, and then we're sort of gonna make an edition where like we've selected a base text, but then we'll like change lines if like a version or something is better in a different manuscript. Like if the base text that we chose, if one line has a clear error, then we'll sub in stuff from the other manuscripts to kind of like correct it. So that's what we're kind of doing this week. One of the guys in our group is very, very into it. So he honestly took on the bulk of it, which thank you to him, was really great. But yeah, it was good and it didn't take too long. So now I'm just in the MCR, gonna get my movie ticket and go. So, the movie was exceptionally good. I could watch those two fold their laundry and it would be interesting. They were both amazing in it, and Jesse Eisenberg, I feel like, should win for original script. And I feel like Kieran Culkin should win for acting. That's my take for the Oscars. But yeah, it was so good. I was like laughing and trying not to cry in the theater. So that was a very good decision. I'm glad I went and saw that. Would definitely recommend that movie. But this evening I've just been working on some other stuff and like prepping for classes this week, looking at the readings, all that good stuff. And then I finally started the Kristen Ashley arc that I have. So it's sort of like a crossover between some of like the Chaos series, which I don't think she's publishing any more books in it. I haven't read the latest Chaos books, but I really like the ones early on in that series. And then she has like another, so this is technically part of the Wild West series, which the first two books in that one I liked. They're not my favorite. I'd say they kind of veer more towards dark romance, but compared to a lot of dark romance, I think that like she's actually bringing up some of the topics and like it's more of an interesting discussion. So like in the second book, the main character is part of a motorcycle club that was kind of like the villain in one of the later Chaos books, from my understanding. Like they had basically, it was a much like more violent motorcycle club and had taken part in like a lot of violence against women basically. And the main character in this romance novel, it's like years later, they've tried to reform the club basically, so they all like really regret what they did to the woman who was like the main character in the other Chaos book, and have been like trying to like rehabilitate the club basically and themselves. So then I think it's like kind of bringing up more interesting questions about like redemption and should this woman be with him and everything. So even though like I maybe didn't love the book, like it's definitely not a Kristen Ashley book that I'll probably reread very much. Like, I can appreciate it for that. Part of it, like, not even anything to do with the relationship, I just really didn't like the main female character in that book. I found her very grating, and she was very hypocritical about a lot of things, and she was like 24, and she was like, I'm better than everyone because I save all my money, and yet she had all this like designer crap. So I was like, you can't have it both ways, lady. Also, the whole setup was like, she broke up with her boyfriend at the beginning because like last straw in the relationship was that like she'd gotten out of bed in the dark and hit her head on a cabinet that he'd left open, and he kind of like laughed at it, and she was like, how dare he like laugh at me in that situation when I could have been in pain, which was like fair enough. But then when she found out about like what had happened, she like kind of became okay with it really quickly, and like that kind of dissonance was never really addressed or discussed, which I guess is kind of part of the point. But also, yeah, I just didn't like super jive with the main character throughout the book, not just for like some of the decisions that she made, but like just her entire personality wise. So that's why like that one wasn't my favorite. The first one is kind of like, she mentioned in the acknowledgments of Motorcycle Man, which is one of my favorite Kristen Ashley's, that when she'd actually started writing that book, it was a lot darker than what a Motorcycle Man wound up being, and she was like, it's not right for Tyra, and it's not like the main character in Motorcycle Man, and it's not like right where she wanted to go for that series. And that book is like much older, and she was like, maybe I'll, you know, finish that book one day. And I'm pretty sure the first book in the Wild West series is that book, because it follows like a very similar plot to Motorcycle Man, but not, and like the hero in that is not Tack at all. So I just don't like that guy. Don't like what happens in that one. And I prefer the second book in the series probably to the first one. But yeah, this book I think is going to be much different because it's more the Chaos guys, and it's set in Phoenix, so I don't know if it's also going to cross over with the Avenging Angel series that's ongoing, which I have really enjoyed. So yeah, starting this one, based on the first couple of chapters, I am really liking it so far, and I think that it kind of is taking, so far, some of those like darker elements that maybe you're kind of used to in the Wild West series, but is like, I would say so far it seems to be closer in tone to the Chaos and the Avenging Angel series. Because in all of Kristen Ashley's series like that, there are like more like thriller-esque suspense elements in them. Like in Motorcycle Man, Tyra gets kidnapped by the Russian mob. Like intense things are happening, but it's also like a more, not like wholesome, but like a nicer romance, I guess. So yeah, that's me rambling about a book that I've only read a couple chapters of so far, but I'm liking. But I'm going to call it a night and call this a vlog. So thank you for watching if you've made it this far, and I will catch you in the next video. What am I saying? If anybody's looking at me through my window, they're gonna be very confused and alarmed. Why am I so sweaty? I look crazy. It's not much better, but all right.